Speaking of low ratings, though,
Oh,
let's talk about this for a second. Doctor Who showrunner admits ratings for the show are trash, and it hits could be scrapped.
You
So
know,
okay.
they
apparently, I
should.
guess Doctor Who's finally getting scrapped in the near future.
Yeah.
So I've never been a Whovian.
I have.
I tried watching because I have this thing where I can't watch a series from like the midpoint. I have to start at the very beginning. So I tried to start at the very beginning, and I was like, wow, this is not interesting. This is not for me. And but I mean, just the bits that I saw of this new Doctor Who, was Doctor Who always like really campy, goofy, almost stage play feeling?
Yep. Okay, so I'm a Whovian, kind
Uh
of.
huh.
All right, I started with New Who before this New Who. I
Yeah.
can't remember who the guy was, but
David
it was
Tennant.
no, it wasn't David Tennant. It was before David Tennant. It was the other guy with Rose. Those were the first ones I actually saw of Doctor Who because I didn't know Doctor Who was a thing before that.
Hmm.
Now, naturally, I went back to watch Old Who, and oh my gosh, it just feels boring. I don't know if because half of it's in black and white or what the deal is, but I don't like Old Who that much. And I'm sure
So
somebody
you're
will
like,
crucify me for that. That's fine. I prefer it from Rose on up. That
okay.
was the best two for me. Well, David Tennant was the best two. But the Doctor has been embodied by the actor, essentially. Like the
Hmm.
Doctor's whole personality comes from the actor and how they portray it.
Yeah.
So each actor had their own spin on how the Doctor acts. And that's how it's always been. So whatever current guy, which is this guy
Ouch.
here, however he acts is that current iteration of the Doctor and how he acts.
I'm sorry. When the doctor says honey unironically, it bothers me.
I
And that's not all honey. Like, no, no, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Girls
which
don't do that.
Doctor said
Don't do
that?
that.
The new one.
Was it the
Yeah.
new one? Because I don't
Yeah.
remember the Doctor really doing
He
that.
said he was he
He
didn't like.
usually always refers to him by name. But I watched the special, the special they had right before this Doctor was launched. Okay,
Yeah.
they brought back my favorite Doctor for the special,
Yeah,
and
tenant. Hmm.
and naturally I was just like, it's Tenet. I have to see it. I have to see it. I don't care how bad who is, but it's Tenet, and it was good until the final episode.
Where he splits in half, right?
Where he then where then it splits him in half and everything, and there were bits and pieces in there that I just cringed at because it did have that DEI flave in there because you've got what's her name in the wheelchair, and no, I don't remember any of the real supporting cast for the most part outside of the companions because the rest of them are trash.
Yeah.
But you've got what's her face in the wheelchair,
Hmm.
right? And they did make a handicap joke right at the beginning of this whole thing where the soldier's like, we're waiting for you, ma'am, or waiting for you to go up. And she's like, dude, I'm in a wheelchair. Just go. And he's like, oh yeah, my bad. Salutes and goes off kind of deal. And I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But she's got like machine guns in her
Yeah.
wheelchair and
Ironside,
shit.
basically.
And is
Yes.
getting around and
Yes.
being girl bossy in the thing, and I'm just like, I can't take her seriously. I'm sorry. And then they did the whole. They brought back Donna, of course, for it, which that was a pleasant surprise. I like Donna, but
Hmm.
then they went into the whole. It's because we're both women, kind of bullshit, kind of thing, and
Well,
because
the
she
funny thing
had an
about that,
offspring, her portion of the doctor or of the of Gallifrenian went into the into the daughter, so she was able to survive getting her memories back, but then they had to let it go because women know how to let things go. And I'm
no,
like,
no,
no, no women
no.
know how to let things go. They will remind you of something you did 10 years ago.
Women have to learn how to let things go. We can do it. It is within our
But
power because we're humans and humans are amazing. But no,
but
that is not our natural way. We
it
know
was
how to let
things
things
like
go. My
that
dude.
during it that I cringed because she would be like, "Oh, because doctor, it's because we women know how to let things go," and I'm just like, "I'm sorry, what? Who the fuck wrote this?" And then of course they did the whole pronoun thing partway through it too,
Well, you know
because they
why though,
had the
right?
meep, and the doctor was calling it, I guess, a he or something at first, And then one of them was like, "You can't call it a he. We didn't ask for its pronouns. What's your pronouns or some shit?" And the Meep is like, "Meep? It's Meep?" I'm like, "What? That was not necessary in this at all. It's an alien who doesn't seem to speak English and then does speak because it's an evil alien, it turns out." But
Yeah.
it was a nice fun romp for 3 episodes, and then they split him, and he's now bi uh what was it, bi-generational or some weird thing,
Yeah.
because bi-regeneration generated, I don't know, they made up a word for it, I think.
Yes.
uh, where you've now got 2 doctors.
Yeah.
So my favorite doctor gets to live out, with Donna and them, and I guess he's still technically a Time Lord. Then they split the you know everything in half, so they made a second one because the rules were in place, and now this guy's going out. We're following him, so he's not even the original Doctor anymore.
Let me.
Because I was wondering how they were getting around the whole fact that he's already regenerated more times than he was supposed to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even sure how he wound up being David Tennant, because I didn't bother watching She Who.
Oh.
And he was just like, "No, I just woke up with this face, and I've never had the same face twice." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't care. It's David Tennant." But it still had its
breaks
problems.
all the freaking lore of Doctor Who, because the whole thing was
Well, they
they all
broke it.
died. All the Time Lords died. They couldn't regenerate. And then they can regenerate, but because they died in the way they died, they couldn't. And Doctor Who was the last one.
Well, there was also Master and
yeah.
yeah.
Until we found like the foils and stuff. But what I'm getting at is there at no point was, hey, let's split like a freaking cell in the body.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
And repopulate the Time Lords. It's infuriating, because I used to be a Whovian. I used to be a don't go there. Let's just say I was part of a lot of fandoms. Some I don't talk about anymore.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No,
But-
it's a weird community, one of them that I used to be a fan of. Anyway, so they the whole thing of Doctor Who and the way they're doing it is, and by the way, this is Doctor Who, this is comics, this is everything. You notice they try to, and like you said, Meg, feminize everything. I think it's even more nefarious than that. Now, this is probably the red pill kind of BS coming out of me, but I think they're trying to get rid of male spaces as much as humanly possible. And for a lot of feminists, I think that, and now granted, this is just a bit of a side effect, but I think they're trying to drive up male suicide.
I don't know if it's as nefarious, at least on the human level. Like, we can talk about the spiritual realm if you want, but I think that for the human level, I think that it's literally just this. There's a party happening over in that room. I'm not a part of it. I totally want to be a part of it. Make me a part of it. I want to be a part of it. Let me in. And then you get there, and then they go, "Why is your party like this? You know what would be better?" And this is the problem. So I was a tomboy as a child. Shocking, I'm sure. But and I had to deal with the whole boys not wanting girls to play. And I found that obnoxious. It was irritating.
Well,
I was
listen,
like, dude, I
women
literally
have cooties.
I was like, dude, I just want to play the game. And they're like, no, you're going to mess up the game. I'm like, no, I'm going to beat you in it. And so, like, that was my thing. But now looking back, and I'm like, I feel like I owe those dudes an apology. Not because I screwed up their game, but because their fears were well founded. Because this is what happens. You get this kind of stuff. I mean, this guy, like, I don't know if you watched this whole Who iteration here with
I watched an
Judy
episode and couldn't
Gatwa.
finish.
He's very, very feminine. And the thing that irritated me, I mean, among other things about the whole the special was what's her name? Donna's quote unquote daughter, which was actually a man.
Oh wait, was that a no? It was
Yes,
a girl.
that's a dude. That's a trans person.
They didn't say that in the Christmas
Yes,
special.
they
So
did.
did
They
they?
did because
Did
there's
I
a
miss that
moment
bit?
where these people are driving by and call the person David, and the mother goes freaking dead naming, and then she just goes
I
on to
missed
talk.
that bit then.
Yeah,
Holy shit, that was a quick
yes.
throwaway somewhere.
And if you really look at like, this is a very pretty guy. I believe he's had work done, but like, I don't know if you're on YouTube. You might not be anymore, but
Yeah, well, it happens.
Sumimasen. I'm a girl. I'm sorry. I find this irritating. Okay, like when they're like, "Oh, I'm so excited to get my period." Said no woman ever. No woman is excited about that. It's
The man
awful.
is
You
They
either.
are
red
on Twitter
every month.
apparently.
No, like, I'm bleeding. No, you're not happy about this. This means
No,
your
I
life is
married
very
for like
different, and you make a lot of calculations for that month.
I was married for 10 years, and Shark Week was the week you wanted to avoid. You had chocolates, you had heating pads, you had everything in the world that you needed to survive Shark Week. And let me tell you, if you're not properly prepared, it will eat you alive.
Yeah.
I was married for 18 years, and let me tell you,
Ah, but yeah, I mean, it had some
yeah,
throwaway things in there, but it was
Well, I
David
mean, that's
Tennant, so I
why.
sat through it.
I
And
think I think that that's why the whole "you didn't ask it its pronouns" was so significant to that character. And if you notice at the end when they're kind of tearing David Tennant down, it's like, "It's a shame you're not a woman anymore because she'd have understood."
oh, yeah, I
Um,
remember that bit.
it says something a male presenting doctor could never understand. And
Hmm.
that's because this is a physical male that's saying this. Just, on lots and lots of hormones and drugs and stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
That's just
that actually makes sense now. I missed that one little bit, and now some of it makes more sense. But yeah, I mean, I tried to watch this Doctor for an
ugh.
episode, and it just did not jive with me at all. I was like, okay, yep, it's back to being shit again.
That's what I mean by the honey. He said that a couple of times in the new series. Not in the I don't think he said that in the special. I do remember when he split off though. I was like, he
But
kind of minces and prances a
well,
bit,
see, I did like that they went deep lore and brought back the toy maker for like the final time, because that has been something that was hinted at a long time ago, because it was an old Who when he first met the toy maker, and he's like, we're going to do this again, and then he does it again, and then we're at the last time doing it, and it's just like that was a nice little wrap up to that, because
Yeah.
most
I mean,
most
if
of the
you're a
time they
Whovian,
go
sure,
the
but
live
just
version and just bastardize the entire lore.
yeah. But I mean, the thing is that there's a difference between something being good for what it is, something being good objectively, and then something being enjoyable. And I think that this kind of failed on most of those, although it probably did hit a few of the, hey, remember this, remember that, member berry module in your brain, especially
Yeah,
after the 13th season 13, is that what it was? Jodie Whittaker. Jodie
yeah,
Whittaker as
whatever.
the duck
Oh my
warning
gosh,
doctor.
she was so insufferable as the Doctor, because she was like
yeah.
trying to be Tenet but couldn't pull it off. And that was like the first time, if you've been watching Who, that you kind of realize that every Doctor has had their own flavor of the Doctor.
Yeah,
Personality, everything changes, but then this one is trying to imitate previous Doctors.
yeah,
And it's just not coming off right at all. And it's
yeah.
like, no,
You
you were
totally.
supposed to make the Doctor your own.
Yeah, and well, to be fair, this guy totally is, but I don't think he should have done that. I think he should have like channeled something slightly less irritating.
Well,
He cries in every. Disparu pointed this out. Dude cries every episode. Every episode
Oh
he cries.
gosh, really?
Yes. And
so
he would get Disparu would get so mad. Like sometimes I'm not upset about someone crying. If something terrible happened, there's an episode of The Acolyte, which is not a good show, but there's an episode of The Acolyte where, oh gosh, dude from Squid Game, he has this moment where he like his whole team just got
I like Squid
murdered
Game.
in front of him, and he alone remains. And he just kind of has this moment where he's clearly upset. He's trying to pull it together and not freak out and be still stoic about it, but he has a moment by himself. And Disparu's like losing his mind. He's like, I don't care. And I'm like, no, let him have that. That was actually good. That's a good moment in a terrible show. But yes, in this, every episode, Gatwa cries. Every episode. And it's just like, okay, I'm gonna need you to man up a little bit. Like, sack up, dude.
It's like, you're
Walk
the
it
freaking
off.
doctor. You can't be sitting there crying all the time. Like,
No.
we've already gone through the arc where the doctor, regrets everything. We've
Ugh.
gone through it. It was a decent arc. We don't need to redo it.
Yeah.
The thing is that I never watched the Tenant thing. The thing is that I don't like the idea of the doctor constantly changing, because I'm like, well, that's not the same guy. I liked that guy. I don't want another guy. I'm that kind of person. I'm like, no, I'm used to this thing. Don't change this thing. I'm mad about it now. So I've never been like a Whovian, but I've seen clips of David Tennant in moments of Doctor Who. I'm like, dang, I kind of feel like I should watch this show, but I
I'll tell you,
won't know all the lore. I won't understand everything.
I
I
wish
won't
they
do it.
didn't change the doctor like every 2 seasons. They should have
Yeah.
kept the same doctor a little bit longer than what they
Yeah.
did. But it was when they went with the old guy. I can't remember what his name is. That is when it like really went downhill for me.
Mm.
Well, the
I
funny thing is,
never liked him as the doctor either.
my favorite
So
character
it was
was
before Jodie Whittaker, but it was the one right before her, because then we had the regeneration to the old guy, and we brought what's her name? Got what was her name? Claire, I think. God, I hated Claire so fucking much. As a companion, she should just rot somewhere. Like, the doctor needs to just lock her in a mirror and leave her or something. Gosh, she's an insufferable bitch. Anyway, I just
Right.
hated those entire
So-
seasons of the Doctor.
Yeah, so I'll say this: my favorite character in Doctor Who wasn't even Doctor Who. Wasn't he? By the way, wasn't even the companion. It was the I think they call him the Centaurian, the Rowan.
Centaurian. It's yeah, I can't remember what his name
But
is.
basically, this dude
Give me a second.
waited for Rose for literally an eternity, literally thousands of years, because he couldn't die where this trap was. Like, he was trapped in eternity, and she was trapped in this vault. And he had to wait for
Rory.
Roy.
There we go.
Roy.
It's Rory. I like Jack.
That clip of him sitting there waiting in Centaurian clothes. And the funniest thing is, he had the most badass line. He walked up to literally in a ship full of enemy Cybermen, I think it was. And he was like, I got a message. And then all of a sudden you see in the background a ship of theirs. He's like, I got a message from the doctor. And they're about to jump on him, and then they stop. And then all of a sudden a ship blows up in the background. You see it on their like little screen. And then he's like, do you want me to repeat it? Literally, doesn't say anything, just boom.
It's like, that's back when the Doctor was good.
Yeah.
Like,
And then
my favorite person, I think, has been Jack Harkness, which then he got his own spinoff, which I like too.
Oh, yeah.
Torchwood, and I wish they never would have canceled it.
Let me tell you something. Jack Harkness is how you do, and I'm just going to sound terrible, how you do gay right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a gay guy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But I love
He was very much bi, and he was very suave. It was really refreshing.
But I
Because
think
that wasn't, here's the thing, that wasn't his only attribute. He wasn't the gay guy, the bi guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't the trans guy. He wasn't even trans, because that mental illness wasn't a thing back then. He was just a dude who happened to like playing both sides of the field. He was a adventurer. He was this, like, he couldn't be killed. He was immortal.
Mm-hmm.
Which meant that he would get killed and then come back and be like, well, that was weird.
But I think that's interesting, though, because like Zio said, he didn't even remember that was an aspect of his character. And I think that that's when you say, like Chad said, that's how you do it right. When it's not your personality that you happen to like X, Y, or Z, you have your own character, there's something else to you, rather than, oh, I just happen to fancy this side or that side. That's irrelevant. It's not a character. It's not a character trait. It's just a thing. Anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, anyway, so Doctor Who's not doing so well. This might be the last season. I don't know. Of course,
Good
I was
riddance.
kind of expecting the last season to be the last season. So,
Ugh, the space babies. Ugh. They kept yelling space babies all the time. Space babies, space babies, space babies. Stop it. Just that's too many syllables for one. Just stop. You don't have to say space babies all the time. Just babies. Children. Baby. It's weird to say
they also ruined Doctor Who lore with the Jodie Whittaker stuff, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just
They
saying
took a
as a
dump on
show, it
lore with
sucks.
that one.
I don't know the lore. I'm just saying as a
Yeah.
show, this is irritating to watch. It's just
Oh yeah, it is.
ugh. All right, go ahead.